host this conversation and allow people to get to know you and to dig deeper into who you are and what makes you so amazing. So we are going to get started. During this call, you might see some photos pop up. Don't get distracted, but you may see some really great photos of when she was younger through now. And I may give some shout outs on this call because it's going to be a good time. So are we ready, Belen?
Yay. Hi, guys.
Welcome. So let's get started. So let's talk. Can you tell everyone where you're from? Like, where were you born, and where did you grow up?
Yeah, I'm originally from Dominican Republic, and I grew up in Lawerence, Massachusetts. My family eventually established there, and that's where most of my upbringing was. Yeah.
And how did you get involved in dance?
There was a Peruvian dance group in Lawerence that would perform in these small performances. And my mom tells me the story. I asked her the other day, I was like, how did you know that I wanted to dance? Like, what gave it away? And she said that she saw me dancing with my kindergarten teacher, who I loved at the time. She was like the one. Anyway, apparently I had a lot of rhythm of some kind that she could see. Doing some merengue and some Christmas parties. So she decided to enroll my sister and I when the time was right in some dance. And so the first thing we did was Peruvian dance, where we learned the deep folkloric work of Peru. So I did a lot of this dance called marinera, as well as el baile negro. So it's very, very specific to that culture. Eventually, then I transitioned into, the more technical aspects of dance, and that was around 8 years old at Lawerence Ballet Academy.
That's awesome. So how did growing up in Lawerence influence your perception of yourself?
Well, I was very proud to be Spanish, right? There was this, everyone year round was very proud, but it was a significant time of the year in the summer, and it always sticks out. It was called Semana Hispana, Hispanic Week, and it's just a grand old celebration of all the Latin American countries. You get to taste the food, and you get to explore all their culture and their dance, and I was very heavily involved in that. So a lot of Lawerence was a lot of performing, because my mom was a big fan of having us in everything. So my sister and I always had every costume we needed. And that's how I spent most of my childhood, just in a dance class and performing somewhere. And my mom with all the dresses, she loved to be the helper. So she was always there. And my sister and I just absolutely loved it. So that's predominantly what Lawerence was all about to me. It was a lot of rich culture and events for children. I remember it was a very vibrant childhood in that essence. And yeah, it was fulfilling, because I always have to say this, it was so important that I kept the language. So that's also something I'm so thankful about being in Lawerence, that I was forced to speak with everyone in Spanish. Yeah. So I had to. There was no one to speak English with it unless it was at school, right? Because even in the dance studio, they would teach ballet classes sometimes with Spanish slang. It was mixed, right? So that was the beauty of growing up in Lawerence. And I'm really
wow, that's awesome. Culture is so important, and I think the beauty of being able to speak a second language is just as important. That's phenomenal. So now let's talk about school. So tell us about, middle school and going into high school. What was that journey like for you?
Middle school was overwhelming. As in, I think I was always a kid that, I'm pretty sure 100% I'm an empath. And so I think I've always just it was a lot of stimulus coming in. It was overwhelming. And I was always so serious, just gotta get these A's. This was the pinnacle, because that's how they frame it, right? It's you gotta get the A's. So for me, I've always aimed for the eye on the prize, kind of always zoning in. So when I was that age, it was the grades, which I wish it wouldn't have been the grades, because actually the experience of the knowledge is 100 times more important than just the A. So don't ask me anything I learned
We won't.
I got the A. Anyways, so that was most of my middle school. It was a lot of, as we all experienced, learning about myself and awkward stage of confusion and questions. By 7th grade, I knew I wanted to be at Boston Arts Academy because there was this girl called Lunara Devers from Lawerence Ballet Academy who was already attending by this point. And so it was through her that I was able to, like, shout out to Lunara, because I was able to shadow her. So it became like a tangible dream, just because I was able to taste it, you know, like, oh wow, here I am in the school and this is, she could do it, so I could do it. It was always that. It was kind of like someone led the way and the rest followed. And that's what that journey was about. So by 8th grade, I was pretty zoned in on getting the BAA. And it was pretty easy because we had really good training in Lawerence Ballet. So I'm really thankful for that.
Your training was amazing.
Oh, thanks, Yanja.
Girl. So tell us about Boston Arts Academy. So you started there as a freshman, right?
Yes, 2000.
So what was that like? What were your years like at Boston Arts Academy?
Most teachers would say I was like way too serious. Actually, Mr. Gonzalez, who I saw in a ceremony that we had for Boston Arts Academy, and he was my science teacher. He was just like, yeah, you were always like so into something, like just focused, like everything was like so important to you. And I was like, yeah, I haven't changed much. There's some differences, like I've evolved spiritually. But there's some, like, you know, just like human things that come with this experience. Yeah. The hardships and the difficult, challenging times that test you. And so in high school, it was the new energy began of learning about who I am and what the world is all about, and in a new city. So it was very overwhelming, and my focus was just keep it together, get your grades together, and just you're dancing. So I was in heaven. I loved it. The moment I got into my dance class, it was meditation. Because it's the only place ever, especially in ballet, something about ballet class, like that discipline, it's a little more silent than like do, right? Like a little more different kind of class, like a Horton or whatever. So you can almost, there's a listening to yourself that I learned to do, and it was a place to come back to myself, and I had control over myself as opposed to other aspects of my life that felt away from me. So high school was a lot of that, learning about myself, but it was overwhelming. It surely was. And meeting people like you guys and my best friend, Mickey, really gave light to high school and made it less serious and stressful, because I was just a kid.
Yeah. But how did you do that? Because Lawerence isn't a 20-minute drive or a 20-minute bus ride. You were traveling from Lawerence to Boston Arts Academy every day, Monday through Friday. How did that work?
You mean going to school? So I would come in the morning, and that was like an hour or 40 minutes. It was the worst because like if it was cold out, you gotta wait for that train in the cold. Like it was like there was just these things that were challenging. But of course, whoever lives in this part of the world knows what that's like in the winter. But it was just really far. I had to wake up really early. The fun part was coming back home, because sometimes I didn't have a means to provide for that train. So I'd be like trying to pretend I was sleeping, or like I got kicked out a lot because I didn't have a way. But also, that was just what was meant to happen to me. I don't even know how I was able to survive, especially by the time I met you guys, because I was rehearsing with you guys, and then I'd come home late. Yeah. And I was actually just talking to Delinda about it, because I remember that you guys had a contract, and I took it so seriously that my train to Boston, it was either get like 20 minutes late to rehearsal, or get to Boston 2 hours, hour 30 early. And I was like, you gotta be there on time. So I would just sit or like, I don't know, walk around, wait for my rehearsal.
Wow.
So it was that. It was just, I was just passionate about learning and about, you know, I was learning so much at OrigiNation that I wasn't learning at school, for example. So I was just so grateful to be dancing and to be around beautifully hearted people.
Yeah. No, we were so grateful to have you and be around you too. But tell us, during your junior year, something interesting happened to you and a group of the young people that came from Lawerence, the Boston Arts Academy. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, the Lawerence contingent.
Yes.
So we were way too proud, because the issue is we gave ourselves away. We were supposed to. So Boston Arts Academy. It's a public school. Therefore, you have to live in the city to go. And a few of us, by this point it was 7 of us, they had to buckle us up and call us into a meeting with our parents. And they had to get very serious with us. They were just saying that basically we had to find a home in Boston or we were asked to go, unfortunately. And so it was very hard on all of us. We got so close to our family at Boston Arts Academy, and kind of just to be torn away from that. That's junior year. That's, you know, that's almost, you got 1 more year left, you know, there's a bond. And so that was super hard, because at the end of the day, only 3 of us ended up moving. And the reason why I got to go to Boston was because Dibinga, she had the brave heart to allow me to stay in her house. No, because I know Musal that but just children in general at that age are probably challenging, and you don't want anybody in your house. I get it. And she did. She, like, I don't know, she sucked it up with love, and she made it happen, and I'm so grateful. I'm serious. No, because I get it. Now that I have my own space, I'm like, this is sacred. But, you know, you were so generous, and I asked Musal, I pulled her aside because Ian just suggested it, and I just poured my heart out to her and asked her to please let me stay over, because the fear of losing dance was so close had I not gone to, you know, had I not stayed in Boston. Because, you know, the epitome of dance in Lawerence was the studio I was in. That was the end. And I just needed more, and I knew I had to continue to expand and graduate from Boston Arts Academy. So Musal for that. I'm so grateful.
Yeah, we're kind of grateful for Musal, because that was a trying time. Yes. You know, because Musal had a few dancers stay at her house.
It's pleasant to be in the space. You know, I wanted to honor your space and respect it, because I was so grateful, you know. I understood that we had just practically met, you know, and here you have me in your house for a year. So thank you. Thank you so much.
But I have to say on behalf of Musal that you were an easy person to live with. You know, you like to keep things, you know, in order, and you are really easy to live with. So thank you for that, and we thank Musal and love Musal. Can you tell us how you got into Nia Dance Troupe, and what was it like once you got into the company?
Nia, yes. So I first saw Nia Dance Troupe in junior year through Mickey. I believe it was Mickey. She was the one who brought me to Our Story performance. And I had never seen anything like it before. I remember being like just gasped, just amazed by the talent. And it was so powerful that I was like, I would pay double. You know, I made nothing. So I was like, $40 is worth it. You know, I was so impressed and amazed. And so Mickey told me, I think that it was Mickey and Cedric told me there was an audition for Nia Dance Troupe, and by this point they were in it. And I missed the audition for some reason. I don't know, I forget why. And she was like, you know, she says it's okay. I think she talked to you or something, but I was able to still go. So I went during a rehearsal. And I think we were doing that Usher song. What is it?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. We were going off, and and then you pulled me. So I was trying to pick it up or whatever, and it wasn't an audition; it was a rehearsal. And so then you pulled me to the other studio. Oh, I miss that place. And you were like, and then you kind of gave me a little audition yourself. And then you gave me an interview, and you were like, how do you were trying me. And I was like, this is the best place ever. Like I really wanted to be in it. And I got in, and it was just the best thing that could have happened to me at that point. It really was, because it brought a new, it opened and blossomed up a new world for me, that allowed me to create an independence apart from my life in Lawerence. So it was really great, and it was really beautiful.
If you think about Nia now, what do you think you learned about yourself being in Nia dance troupe during that time to help you get to where you are today?
Yeah. Well, you guys were on it. It was it was strict. I was like, oh, we can't play games. It was like militant. I was like, we're all black. I was on my stuff. Like, it was very well put together, that you guys gave us that foundation of responsibility and of what it takes to work in a company and have rules and have guidelines. So I was very grateful, and I took them very seriously. Yes, and so that aspect of it, but also just the rawness, there was that, just the way we expressed ourselves in Nia dance troupe. It was unlike anything I had ever done. Also with the African work that we did, or Mwadi's dances. So there was this other swag that I was cultivating in me, and I was very thankful for that. And there was one more thing that I was gonna say, but it fails me. Yeah, OrigiNation was just important. It was a family. This is what I was gonna say. You guys gave us confidence, as in that age. It is very easy to just get lost in the thoughts, get lost in who you think you should be, because so-and-so dresses, there's all these details that overwhelm kids even now. So to have someone like you guys in a studio, in a space to cultivate that center and be grounded was so important, especially, although I didn't get to go to college after, but just graduating, you have this foundation of trust in yourself. So thank you for helping that. And you do that for everyone. Everyone can say that, I promise you.
Thank you. Yeah, you graduated valedictorian of your class. For you youngins that are on here, valedictorian. Yes, that's a round of applause.
Thanks.
That was amazing. I
didn't work for that. As in, I didn't think about it in advance. It just kind of came, and I was really grateful. Just because it was, the entire 4 years were scary to an extent in the way I was interpreting the changes that were coming so rapidly. So the fact that I was able to do the work needed to have that, I was really thankful. Yeah.
That was a lot, between juggling, leaving your family in Lawerence, staying with Musal, balancing all the dance you were doing at Boston Arts Academy, all the performing in classes at Nia Dance Troupe, and being able to be a scholar, an honors student. Yeah. That's a lot. That's a lot for anyone to ask and for anyone to do. And, we've always been impressed with your hard work. Your work ethics were impeccable, and your ability to still be humble and was, you're one of a kind, Belen, truly one of a kind. So you're welcome. Tell us about your journey to New York City. How did that happen?
Journey to New York City.
Yes.
Okay. Where would I begin with that one? So I guess I can start from the place, you mean after high school kind of?
Yes.
Okay. So after I graduated, I sent in my deposit for college a day late. And again, it really does fail me what the details of that moment happened, because it was so long ago, and also there was so much going on around that time that I don't know. But basically, it was late, and they took away my scholarship, and I had nowhere to go, which was really scary because here I thought the world was going to lay itself before me now that I have done all the work.
Nope.
It gets easier, and it just has never gotten easier. I've only gotten wiser. But yeah, so it was tricky, but I was able to get into a college last minute. And I went to Pine Manor College for a semester and wasn't really feeling it, and decided to move in with Cheryl Pollard Thomas. Well, actually, she, asked me, I don't mind. And yeah, shout out to Thomas. And
Yes.
to stay with her beautiful daughters. I became like one in the family, which I was so thankful, right? Because it was a very vulnerable time. So to live with them was very nurturing, and be around women and around bubbly, loving people, it was exactly what I needed. So I moved in with her, and I eventually, what we did was we would go every morning to Boston Arts Academy because that's where she worked. She was my dance teacher from high school. And that's how I figured I would keep dancing. I would take the free classes that the school provided. It was very embarrassing. It was really scary or humiliating to an extent, just because I didn't know how long this was going to last. And it just kind of, the lights of like possibility kept dimming as I kept going back to Boston Arts Academy, because it just started becoming more realistic to kind of drop this act of making this happen. This is kind of ridiculous, but I'm glad that the many stimulus from OrigiNation, from Boston Arts Academy, from living with Thomas, my sister's amazing. She was always inspiring me. So I was able to cultivate some ground in my heart to continue the fight and the struggle. And so I would do work study at Jose Mateo's and at Jeanette Neal's. And that was also the worst, because I was like, oh, I just want to dance. Like I guess I never wanted to do the work. I wanted to just be in the class. So kind of like later in my story, I didn't want to work at Best Buy. I just want to dance all the time, like for free. I mean, I would get paid, but
yeah,
I would dance for free,
Yes.
That was where I was at the time. And so it was so worth it though. So I did that. And eventually Miss Thomas was affiliated with Earl Mosley, who has Earl Mosley Institute of the Arts. And it's an incredible summer program. Please check it out. It's kind of like OrigiNation, just very powerful, loving human being that's transforming lives. So I'm so fortunate I was there. I was there for 4 weeks. And that's where I met Camille Brown. She asked me to be in her company. It wasn't at Earl Mosley. I actually was in a camp right off of that in New York for 2 weeks. And one of her dancers came up to me and said, Camille wants you to dance with her in her company. Like, here's her number. And I was like, are you serious? Because I had just seen her dance, and I was like, she's amazing. And I remember seeing Camille. I think she was what stood out the most in Evidence in Ronald K. Brown's company, when I saw the grace, and I was like, oh, who is that woman? Anyway, years later, she's the one who's asking me to be in the company, and was so thankful. But I lived in Boston. And she worked in New York. So she was like, she actually didn't know until I went to a photo shoot and I had all my stuff. And she was like, you don't live here? I was like, no. It was the first time we had done this company thing. I was like, yeah, no, I just came in the bus. Like, oh, wow. So then she was, I'm so thankful that she, for some reason, cared for my work enough. We would like help each other out so that we could find financially a way to get me to rehearse on the weekends. So that's how I was able to stay in the company for the first year. And eventually the work got heavier, so I moved to New York, and Mr. Mosley gave me a reference to get a position at the work study program at the extension at Alvin, Ailey American Dance Theater. which is I pretty much worked 4 hours for 3 free classes. And I did that. And that's how I got to New York. Sorry, I don't want to pass.
No, you're good. You're good. You're good. Keep going.
And I was doing that that's how I took classes in New York.
But other than the work study, did you have any other jobs while you were in New York at that time?
Yeah. So I was still working with Camille. Well, non-dance jobs.
Yes.
I worked at Haagen-Dazs. I got fired. I gotta tell the story because the owner, who was pretty much like 2 years older than me at that point, she was given this shop by her father, and so she wanted me to mop and sweep the floors at night because I was closing the shift. But the cheap mops she kept buying and brooms kept breaking in half. So you would have to really break your back to clean it. I'm like, this is an ice cream shop. This is really hard to clean. And so I swept it with that half a broom. And then it was time to mop it. And I was like, yeah, I'm not doing it. And I did it and I left. And she was mad. I was fired. So I did Haagen-Dazs. I worked at Applebee's. I really enjoyed being a host. And then, but I wasn't a very good, I was very good, but then I wasn't good at teaching people how to be a host because I'd be like telling them too many of the details that actually happened. So I would scare them off. I thought I was preparing them, but I was scaring them. So
I would have let you go.
For those side jobs. That was the last thing I did before I got into Ailey, and I worked there part-time.
So let's talk about that. Let's talk about Ailey. Why did you choose to audition for the Alvin Ailey American Dance Theater?
So Ailey was something that always seemed like an impossible dream. It was never on the radar of this is gonna happen for me. But it was nice to see Curvin Boyd in the company when I would go watch when I was in school, but also when I graduated and I wasn't in school and I was like a little bit on depression, and he was a driving force for me. He really was, to the point where when he retired, I was like emotional because he was so much a part of what got me here. So seeing that, as well as seeing Hope Boykin dance on stage, and at the point where I was feeling uncomfortable in my body, it was just reassuring to know that I don't have to be what media tells me to be to be accepted into a company. Right? So I was grateful to have that perspective and flexibility and example. And then working with Madame Darvash, who is a master ballet teacher who stays in New York, she changed the way I saw my work and my capabilities. And she finally gave me hope of what was possible. And so it was because those little light bulbs started going off, as well as, I forgot this yesterday, but Matthew Russian asking me to do Uptown with him. And, you know, I thought he was crazy because I was like, I'm just like Joe Schmo here. You know, I didn't know why. And so when we went upstairs to go teach, Mr. Mosley's like, yeah, put on some tights and stuff. And I didn't know the etiquette of anything, right? So when I went up, it was overwhelming. So even at that point, I didn't think I belonged. So, but just seeing little spurts of, oh, Matthew Russian wants to work with me, or Clifton Brown at some point when we were driving away for some performance for Earl Mosley, I had just done a solo that he choreographed on me. And he was like, tell him, tell her. And he was like, you know, Earl was telling Clifton this. And Clifton was like, he turned around to me. He was like, well, I just think you could be an Ailey, you know? And I was like, what? He's like, yep. And then that was the end. And so just like little things like that kind of like, I can do this. So by the time I was in this particular shift on a Monday, at Ailey for my work study, I turned around and there was this beautiful picture of Revelations. I had just asked myself, which company am I actually trying to get into? Because I I was tired. I was tired of the financial hustle. I was tired of not dancing all the time. I didn't want to do anything but that, and I wanted to immerse myself in it. So I wanted to have financial stability. I wanted to travel the world. And most importantly, I really felt that I was this very versatile dancer, and I just hadn't tapped into my capabilities. I just needed that opportunity. And so when I looked up and saw the beautiful new poster that was just behind me of Butte, it just kind of like was obvious, like, duh, you've been in this building the whole time. This is the one. But it wasn't until all those things came together that it really hit me that it was even possible.
Mm-hmm. Wow. What did you do to prepare for the audition?
So I gave myself a year.
Wow.
I dedicated the entire year, and Mickey could attest to this because she was staying with me for a little bit of that. I was like in it to win it. Yeah, just changed the way I ate, changed my routine. I just became very strategic, finding a way to gauge how I was doing. So I kind of made up the school called Belen's Get It Together School of the Arts. And it was, I have it in a booklet. I did, because I was good at grades, and I was like monitoring that I was a good student, you know? So I knew that about myself. So I was like, I need a way to gauge it, because as far as I was concerned, I didn't even belong in the building. So I was afraid to take classes with the students. So that was the way where I was able to push myself. So today you got an F because you were in the back and because you were scared. So tomorrow, let's shoot for an A, and let's get in the front, and let's try a little harder, because you're not gonna get anywhere like that. So things like that, and also the law of attraction. I was trying to embody that I was already there. I was trying to, I put posters on my walls, like inspirational words, just to every day feed myself that this is possible. Yeah, until audition day, I was convinced it was mine. I spent a whole year working on it. I was like, this has to be mine. Like, it just felt right. And also I heard there was going to be 4 slots available. So that really gave me like, it's mine. That's just how I felt. I just felt like maybe if there was 1, okay, it should be shaky. But if there's 4 open slots, I just felt really sure. And that's what happened. When I went into the audition, I felt really free. I had prepared my whole year on it. Like, there was nothing left to give. I literally was like, listen, I know I'm awesome. If you can't see, I don't know. You know, I just felt that vulnerable. Like, I'm not here to impress you. I just want to have fun, and I would love to have this job, you know? And I went in like that. I was really happy for the girls in the space, and it was great. It was great to take the audition in that state. But that only came from the cultivation of energy that I had created all year, you know? Yeah, and it was well worth it. When I got in, I could not believe it. I remember calling you guys, and we were like, ah!
And you got in on Wadi's birthday.
She told me that. I was like, oh my God, I forgot. But it's true. And yeah, that was a really special moment. I could not believe it. Yeah, I was so thankful.
So what was the difference between, because that was actually your second audition, right?
That was my second audition.
But the first one wasn't really like well, it was a real one, but what was the difference?
It wasn't real because it wasn't something that I wanted. So I'm all about when mentors tell me to do something, like, I'm like, you know, I trust them. So I do it. But even this time around, I didn't really do it with gusto, because I was out of shape in the sense that I didn't feel good in my body. I didn't feel good in my movement. The confidence had decreased because I was in a hustle. It didn't feel like it was coming to me. So I'm so sorry. My thoughts have, like, the thought just left the building. What was the?
What was your first audition like? What was?
Oh yeah, the first audition. I'm so sorry. I was like, where did it go? It just like flew away.
That's okay. I forgot too.
Yeah. So I went in like, just like not interested. I was focused on my meal. Like I really wanted lunch and I really wanted chopsticks. At that point I was like, it was addiction. And, and it just had been like 30 minutes. So, that's what I was focused on. And it's simply because, not a disrespect to the organization, I clearly had a huge respect for Mr. Ailey and his work, but I was like, I don't belong here.
Mm-hmm.
So can I just go, please? Can you just cut me? And they did. They cut me after ballet. And I was like, thank you. Like, so that was the first audition. But I really don't count that, because everything I ever do, I try to do with all my heart. And so that was just, that didn't count.
Thank you for that. Do you remember what your first day was like once you got into the company?
First day. Well, I got to work with Matthew for a little bit. And I remember he was teaching me Revelations. And I kept thinking, like, I was so afraid that to an extent, that I like didn't belong, right? That I just, I definitely remember getting dressed still on the first floor. Because that's where I had been getting dressed for 3 years for classes. So I was very uncomfortable to dress in the dressing room with the girls, because it just felt like that's the company members. Oh, I'm in the company, you know? It was that for like the first week, like, oh, let me step into this new world. Like, but I was more comfortable where I used to warm up. Yeah. But I did work with Matthew first, and yeah, it was surreal, because I had worked with him before, but now he was teaching me Revelations, and I was like, he taught me Buked, all the sections, like all the ones I was supposed to do, and Yellow, for example, and Daniel, and I was just looking at him like, I don't know if I belong here. Like I was still like not accepting of it. I was still shocked. So I kept asking him, like, they don't fire people, do they? They don't.
Yes.
And he was just like, no, they need you. They need you here. Like, it's fine. So it was just that. It was a lot of like self-talk, because I had just jumped into a new reality. Mm-hmm. A one that I never imagined I could actually attain. So it was scary, and it was so much information. Mm-hmm. First week with actual dancers, thank goodness there was 8 of us who got in that year with Robert Battle's first. And that is the only reason why it was easier than any other new person that comes in. Because had I just been one, those get it the hardest, or even when it was just 2. But when there was 8 of us, they had to slow things down. Even if it was 10 dances, they had to slow things down, because there was so many of us learning it. Mm-hmm. Now it's like, oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't know what you're going through. Everybody does great, you know, because we're built for this, but I had never danced that much. So I had never been that sore and asked to do so many intricate things in my life. So it was really overwhelming.
So when you travel with the Ailey company, you come to Boston and you teach classes, right? So you do some classes in different programs, different schools. What is that like, and why do you do them? Why do you in particular do them?
Teach classes outside of Ailey?
Yes, when you're coming into Boston. Yeah. So I know you go to different areas like Children's Hospital or some middle schools.
In January, yeah.
Yeah.
And why do we do that?
Yes.
Well, I haven't done it in a couple years, simply because I also need the time off for reflection. So you have to give and take when you have those times. But when I was doing it, and I do it in other ways, but this particular trio in January, when I was doing it, it's so fulfilling. The kids, you can tell they're debilitated, some of them in wheelchairs, and special needs children, and they're absorbing our energy, and somehow you see like this light emanate from their center, and they're so excited, and they're doing the movement, you know? So it's fulfilling because we don't know what type of impact we're actually giving these children, because, you know, maybe they can't speak exactly how they're feeling, but the energy radiating from them is telling that we are impacting them in a way that is transformative. So it's just deeply fulfilling. And it's Mr. Ailey's vision, you know, to give the dance back. So it's a privilege.
Yeah, I know that's one of his biggest quotes is, you know, dance was taken from the people and dance needs to be given back to the people. And so it's beautiful to see that wherever the Ailey company travels to, they're giving dance back to everyone that they could possibly reach, whether they're blind or deaf, you know, and to just people in all walks of life. And that's a beautiful, beautiful thing. We are going to show some pictures while we're having this conversation. So if you see something pop up, don't be scared. You know, we're still here. So I just have a few more questions for you, Belen. What would you say is the most challenging part of pursuing dance? Oh, look at you!
Oh my God. Yeah, that's a Lawerence Ballet Academy. It's so funny. Whoa, throwback.
Look at that. And the dress.
Oh, good times.
What was this?
Also, Money Spana in Lawerence. Yeah, we had such a great childhood. It was full of color in performances and such. But I'm sorry, I got distracted by the pictures.
Okay, so did I. What would you say is the most challenging part of pursuing dance?
Yeah, the mental, but that's in life. It's that mental block of who you've been taught you are in the media, and, you know, with family and religion, plus, you know, the crowding of the who you should be with who you actually are. It gets really tricky because, just like, for example, getting into Ailey, I had just gotten into Ailey, and there's a part of my brain still ticking like I don't belong here, which is the silliest thing. And so it's like continuously working with that and giving it love, because if it's there for a reason. It's there to tell you something about yourself, and sometimes it could get confusing and it could get in the way, and therefore transcend into the body, and then you're not enjoying yourself. It gets a little too serious. So it's about finding the sweet spot. For me, I really do think it's that, because once you've mastered the mind and the heart connection, the rest is easier, because you can make choices and you can take action.
Wow. Whew. So when we watch you on stage, and I believe everybody that has been to an Ailey production and has watched you on stage, it's like you transform, right? Two questions. What goes through your mind when you are on stage? And do you ever want to just throw in the towel and just say, forget it, I'm done with this, I'm going to give up?
Yes. So that comes often. So this job is not easy at all. It's exhausting. And that's why I say it's the most spiritual work you can do, because you're exhausted physically, mentally, everything is going 60 miles an hour, just because we're just shifting. There's a lot of moving parts. There's so many people. Oh my God. Yeah. Such a great day.
Yeah, overtime. Sorry, go ahead.
And which is why my preparation is so important, because I want to meditate so deeply into myself that I can feel abandoned on stage, that I can really let go. I'm so sorry. I keep looking at the pictures and they're like taking away my.
That's okay.
So yeah, so it's just that I try to go on stage and let go. Of course, the work is so challenging that at times you do think like, hey, prep for that pirouette, like you better plie, you know, so there's those little reminders, but in general, I try to prepare enough and do enough work so that I can let go and be accepting of the moment.
So I have one more question for you because I do want to make sure we have time for anyone to ask questions. Oh, this is gorgeous. Do you have a favorite piece in Ailey? What is that piece and why? And then what advice would you give to anyone that is aspiring to be a professional dancer or have a professional career, period?
Okay, so I'm gonna ask me the second question after I answer the first, so I don't lose it.
Yes.
So what's my favorite piece?
Yes.
You mean or to see?
Oh, you decide.
I'm gonna say to see, because I love all types of dances, and so for me, it's versatility is just fun. So I don't really marry to one dance in the company.
Your mom.
Oh yeah, she's definitely here. But I would say Cry and Inside. So Cry,
wow.
Alvin Ailey, sorry, and that was choreographed on Judith Jamison. Oh, that I would love to do that one day, but it's gorgeous when it's done like from that authentic place.
Yeah,
it's breathtaking, and so it really feeds us on the sidelines when we're having a tough day to see the girls, whoever the girl is on stage, hanging on a thread, still giving her life away. You know, it's so beautiful. And the other one is Inside. That was originally choreographed on Samuel Roberts by Robert Battle. And that one also is, it's so eerie. It's actually, it looks like a very dark piece. There's a man in like a Speedo, and it's Nina Simone, Wild as the Wind, and it's so dense, the dance, and it's so powerful. And when I saw Samuel Roberts do it, the first time and every time I've seen him do it, I have been like mind blown, because it is a masterpiece, both of those dances.
Yeah. Wow.
And I forgot your second question.
Name, can you give advice to anyone who's trying to pursue a career in dance or the performing arts or just a professional career in general? And then we have a few questions over here in the chat box.
Okay. Advice for someone who's trying to be a professional. Well, I really do think that you got to take your technique classes. That's just key. It's, you know, you don't want to because it's so challenging, but excuse me, when you master that, and by master I mean you never master it, it's just a pursuit towards mastery. It really gives freedom to even hip hop. Like, for example, before we do Rennie Harris's, any of them, Exodus or Lazarus, I do a ballet bar. I do ballet before that, because I need my body to be, because of the level of work we do, since we go from Lazarus, for example, into Fix Me Jesus, like I need to be using very specific muscles and organizing myself in a very specific way. So I would definitely say get your technique, take your classes consistently. Even if it's difficult and scary, continue to challenge yourself. But I would also say, like, believe in yourself, like bombard yourself with the people that believe in you, with images, with powerful words. How you speak to yourself is everything. The images you give to yourself are everything. If you give a distorted image to yourself of who you are and who you can become, that's the way you're headed, which is tricky, like I said before, right? Because the mind it will play games. It's like, this is who I am, and it's not. Yeah. You have to learn the difference. And I was talking to Linda about that. It's like this really sensitive place of really knowing the difference. So I would say that invest in your mind, in your heart, in your body, and in your technique, and bombard yourself with who you know you are. Not who you've been taught to be, but who you know you are, so you can embody that.
Thank you. So now here we go. Belen, the first question is coming from someone named Golela. So I do want to give a shout out. We have a lot of Nia or Dime members on here. Trelena, people are here from Kansas, from Alabama, California. Drake, Mickey, Catherine, Trelena, Golela. We have a lot of Nia or Dime members on here. And it's a beautiful thing. The support is a really big deal. So let's move to Golela had a question. Let me scroll all the way down. There are a lot of questions on here. So Golela asked, do you feel nervous when you're about to go on stage? Do you still feel nervous?
Yeah, sometimes. Sometimes. And I tell myself I'm excited instead.
I like that.
The brain doesn't know the difference. So I just use it. And if I'm really nervous as well, I keep rehearsing.
Yeah.
I keep rehearsing so that I can trust what's going to happen. And if any mistakes, right? So if it's live, so anything can happen. So I also go over it that much so that if anything happens, I can adjust appropriately without it being obvious. But yeah, it's scary. It's scary. But I really do attempt to not make it scary by preparation. That's why it's just so important to me, because in that moment, there's no time to go there.
Yeah.
It only holds you back, especially if you're exhausted. If you've been dancing for 2 months, you're just like, I don't have time to be scared right now. and you just focus. Yeah, and I use all kinds of techniques to calm me down. Like I have like 10 and more. Just whatever I learn, I always implement to make my process that much more organic and easy flowing.
Awesome. I have another question for you. This is coming from MV. What do you do to keep injuries away with such a physical demand on your body?
Yeah. I love learning about stuff that makes me feel good in my body, because I understand the ridiculous demand that is asked of us in this company, as in it's just, it's superhuman stuff that we're being asked to do. We're pretty much dancing full out like all day before you see us perform. So what I do things like Feldenkrais is very important. It's about, I told you about that, right?
Yes.
A while ago. And it's, I'm working towards being certified, but it's really challenging with my schedule to complete my certification, because it's a 3.5-year program. But it's a very important method to reorganize your body, much like a baby learns how to move, exactly how it figures out how to even roll over. When you stand up, as a child, you kind of stop learning about your body, because now you look like every other adult. So you just think that you've made it. But there's actually a continuation of learning that is encouraged, because it does affect the brain. There's endless ways to move our bodies, but we learn to move them in one way, and then we stay there. So Feldenkrais is about continuing to learn where you left off, new patterns of movement. And why is that good for a place like Ailey? It's important because I'm continuously using my entire system to do something, as opposed to, let's say I do Fix Me over and over and over, that could hurt a hip after a while, that could hurt one side of the body. But doing Feldenkrais allows you to not only do it in the moment from the correct place, but continuously rejuvenate the body after. And I also do Safe Floor, which I'm also certified in. And that's also been incredible, because it's all about spirals and bringing strength and hydration into the connective tissue. So that's been super helpful in recovery.
Awesome. Man. All right, I think we have time for 3 more before the Musal comes to get me. So this question is from Adrian and Josiah. Do you think it's possible to have both a dance and traditional career? So can you be a professional dancer and then be maybe like a math teacher in school?
I wish I could tell you that's possible, But if you're talking about the level that Ailey is, that's just isn't not going to happen. People have businesses as in like side hustles, and something they could do on the weekends or at night, but there really isn't no time for that. However, when I was working with a much smaller company, I was able to dance on the weekends. So you can definitely have your job and be in a company on the weekends if that's when they rehearse, or at night, right? You guys can talk about it. So that's when it's more tangible, more realistic.
Awesome. So she said, "What?" So I'll give two more. I think I can get two more in here. Let's see. From your best friend, Mickey, what are some of the things, and Nia or Ty, what are some of the things you are working towards now?
I am working towards less of everything. I think as a culture, we can all do this. It is a challenging practice because you kind of brainwash that more is better and work hard and break your back. And, like, it's like we're giving these messages that you almost have to shred yourself to pieces to make something happen. And although my journey has that kind of line, I think it would have been much faster if I would have been like more loving in my heart, like just more calmer and have more self-belief. So it's that's what I'm working on. Just less stress, less carrying other people's stress, less about trying to be someone I'm not, and drastically cutting back on my warm-up, for example. Just where can I really find some refinement? Not to put myself in a box, but to give myself more freedom. Because actually the other spectrum is just as tight, that I've been overdoing it, right? Because it's my nature to work hard. But in this level of dance, it could get away from me, the way I work. So I'm taking this beautiful opportunity to really just learn about my heart and who I am and who I actually, what I want to share and what's important to me. So in doing that, what I'm doing is just cleaning the lines of what doesn't matter, and just zoning in on actually myself.
Yeah, that's important.
Yeah, so that could be of a better service to whoever and wherever I am. Yeah.
Thank you. Trelena was asking the name of, I believe, Feldenkrais. Is that what you're asking, Trelena?
Yes. Feldenkrais. Want me to spell it?
Yes, please.
Feldenkrais.
One more time.
I went too fast, sorry. Feldenkrais. Feldenkrais method.
Awesome. So there's somebody on this in this conversation who, outside of your mom, because nobody comes next to your mom as your biggest fan, right? Not even your sister Catherine, who's right here on. Oh, Catherine, you're second in line. But beyond Belen is Drake's Beyonce. Like Belen is like, Drake is her biggest fan. He's like the biggest fan ever. So Drake has a question. He said, "I know you said you got Fix Me Jesus, which if you haven't seen Fix Me Jesus, you need to look it up and watch it. How was the process of auditioning for pieces once you got into the company? Like what choreographer has challenged you the most?"
Which choreographer challenged me the most? Okay. There was a few questions in there. So I need that first question by itself.
That's okay. What was the process of auditioning for pieces in Ailey?
So pieces like Fix Me and Wade were casted by Chaya, who was associate artistic director at the time. And now he's transitioned, and Matthew Russian has taken his place. And he's retired. He's also a legend, so yay, Chaya. But he was the one who would choose specific roles, like anything that had to do with Mr. Ailey's work, as well as Ulysses Dove. He's the one who casted, which was great because he would know, I don't know, who would fit into what. but that also puts you in a box, right? Because if you're like this kind of girl, they think you can only do that type of thing. So there's that trickiness to it. So you have to almost like show that you can do something else so that you can be casted for other things when it comes to that type of selection. But with choreographers, yeah, it's not challenging. It's just, you think you're done with this auditioning process, right? And I don't like auditions, right? That's why it's like, I'm glad I have a job. I don't really want to search for another one, but it's because they're uncomfortable. It's like, just make the piece. You know, I just cast me. I don't know. I don't want to audition, but that's just the process because they have to see. Unless they had come beforehand and they can watch the performance, but even still, everyone gets a fair chance, which is great. Yeah, it's usually unsettling at first. You kind of have to get your groove. Everyone's incredible. So it's that. It's like 30 people in a room trying to learn choreography. It's tricky, and you know, we're all like family, so we all know each other's energies. So it's light. It's just, again, the thoughts create a reality that's actually not really there. Mm-hmm. So tough choreographers. I mean, there's been all kinds of tough choreographers. Everybody needs something different. I really resonate with choreographers that have a clear vision, that and also that give me color and texture and like circles and demonstrates and gives me stories. Like when they do that, it really gives me context of the infinity that is life, of what I'm actually trying to express. Because sometimes when they're a little too, they want you to just like, you know, create your own, but it's so vague that I don't even, sometimes it feels challenging to know where to begin. Yeah. When they just give steps and not like, what are we dancing about? But you know, that's also part of the dance journey in myself that I have to keep cultivating. Like when the choreographer is of that nature, how do I know the difference, right? Because they don't tell you. It's just a knowing. They just say certain things that insinuate whether they want you to create your own thing or they're very specific. So it's really challenging. But they are also very rewarding because I always make sure that by the end of the process, I have gained exactly the insight that I was hoping for, which is unknown, but it's exactly what I needed. Yeah. Does that make sense?
Yes. No, that was good. Thank you. I want to be able to read some of the comments that are on here because they're really amazing comments. There was one other question. What are you doing now since you can't go to company rehearsal? What are you doing to keep yourself in shape and outside of creating those incredible videos that I've been watching on the Ailey IG and Facebook pages?
Well, I definitely took a huge break energetically, and I had to shut down. And eventually, I'm exploring a lot of movement that has to do with more the energetic aspect of this human experience. So instead of focusing on dance as moving bones and muscles and gotta get that hip socket in X and Y place, and like, I think those tools were extremely helpful in my first few years at Ailey to even understand how to do a lot of the things that I was being asked to do. But now I'm in a place where I'm cultivating the new seeds of energetic performance, which is, I think it's a lot more powerful than just moving from a dense body. So I'm working on that and taking classes every day. They have company classes for us for free via Zoom, and it's been lovely. I've been just working on how I'm gonna get back stronger and smarter and more loving to myself, you know? Yeah.
I think we can all take that, you know? I wanna just read a couple of these comments. Wow, such passion and discipline at such a young age. Can anyone relate? We help each other. This is from Leanne. Wow, how amazing. I can relate with my Alex. We love you, Musao. You know, in talking about, you know, staying with Musao. And then Musao actually said, oh, thank you. Belen's just that amazing. Let's see. I love that. You're very inspirational. We need a book. Oh, actually, I've been talking to her about a book. Da, da, da. See that? Uh-huh. See? Let's see. They talked about Belen's Get Together School of the Arts. It's fantastic. Your trusty expertise. Everything I try to do, same, this is from Leanne, I do with all my heart. I love you. This is from your mom. I love you, and I'm extremely, extremely proud of you. Golela loves the pictures. Let's see. There was another one down here. I appreciate you. Thank you for being here. God bless you. You're so inspirational. Yes, she is. Gladys Mancia, I hope I pronounced your name right. She said, Belén Indhira, here at the City of Lawerence, we are very proud of you. God bless you big time today and always. Nancy Rachel said that you are incredibly inspirational. I love your spirit and energy. And of course, your mom just loves you to the moon and back. And Trelena, who I believe is in Kansas right now, she said, Belén, you are such a beautiful person inside and definitely out. I'm so fortunate to be able to have spent even a small amount of time with you. Belén, you are simply amazing. And I want to echo that. I won't say it too much because, you know, I'll get emotional. Can't get emotional in front of all these people. But we really appreciate you taking the time to have this conversation with us. We know that just because it's a shelter in place doesn't mean that you're not busy. And you could have used this time to do a wide range of other things like taking care of you. But you've always been the type of person to be able to give back and help others and share your experience in order to help someone else. And that's part of your upbringing. That's part of who you are. It's in your DNA. And so we love you immensely for everything you do, everything you're about, and what you have yet to do. So thank you to your mom, Belén, who is on here and is always, wherever you are, that's where she is. Thank you to your sister, Catherine, who is right there and has been there all the time. And to everyone that is on this call for spending time with us this evening.
I won't tell the parents, but I have to say, Belén, we love you. Your living with you for a year was incredible because you have all this energy at 5 o'clock in the morning when I'm trying to go to work and you're like, hey, but your roots from Lawerence, from your mother, Catherine, your brothers, just the person that you are, just you brighten up everyone's day just by your inspiration and your passion. So on behalf of Alpha Kappa Alpha, that's my sorority, Psi Iota Omega chapter, I just really want to thank you for taking the time to share your journey because it's about your journey as opposed to where you are. We know you're on the international stage, but your journey, anybody can share a piece of that for whatever they want to do. So you're just a beautiful spirit. We wish you so much luck and we cannot wait to see you come back and perform in Boston. And I want to thank you. I want to thank everyone who has joined on this call. This was absolutely amazing. Shout out to Nia Dance Troupe.
Nia Dance Troupe.
So everyone have an awesome night. Belén, thank you, thank you. We love you. And we're going to text right after this anyway. So thank you. Good night, everyone.
Thank you so much. Good night. Oh, this is amazing.
I have to take a picture.
I know.
I'm on here and dark.